Thank you so much, my friends, for taking time to click on this video. And I just want to thank you as well for subscribing, for liking, for sharing, and for joining MelVee Broadcasting Network as we spread the everlasting gospel to the ends of the world. I also just want to thank you for the blessing of resources that God has given you, which you have shared with us. As I've always said, and I want to say again, MelVee's work continues to grow in leaps and bounds, and our gospel footprint has gone around the world. It is for that reason, my friends, that we need more resources to keep this ministry growing and impacting more people and changing lives along the way. I don't want to spend a lot of your time, but I want to come back at the end of this video to share with you a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that I'm hoping you can join us to bring it to pass, because God is calling you and us to do something that will impact this world forever. So in the meantime, I just want you to relax, whisper a prayer to God, and enjoy this video. I'll see you on the end of this video. Stay tuned and God bless.
Good day. Welcome to another segment of MelVee Productions. Today I'll be talking to you about social media, and this is the first of 2 parts and possibly a 3-part series. We are under the series that we've been working on now with MelVee for a while, saying, Lord, open my eyes. So our focus, as I've just said, will be on social media. And I want to share some things with you. Just for consideration in terms of our scripture, you know, Jesus went and he met this man in John chapter 9 who was born blind. He heals him, and then the disciples ask him, how is it that this man was born blind? Did he sin? Did the parents sin? Who sinned here? And Jesus said, no, it is because we wanted as God that our name may be glorified through him. So sometimes you are blind not because you wanted to be blind. God allows it so that when he opens your eyes finally, his name may be glorified. And that is the anchor verse of our segment today. But followed by that is the similar verse, but in a different vein, where somebody is willfully blind. In Revelation chapter 3, verse 18, Jesus talks to the Laodicean church and then he laments. He says, you know, you think you can see, but you cannot see. You're actually blind. You can see if you would get the eye salve. Buy it from me and I'll give it to you. Then you can see. This, in a sense, is talking to somebody who used to see, whose eyesight deteriorated, but unbeknown to them, they're still under the delusion that they can actually see. Now Jesus comes and says, no, your eyesight is no longer 20/20. It has deteriorated. You need eye salve so that you can then see. This is not what we are talking about, people who are woke, people who know everything, or people who've got the attitude that says, what can I possibly learn from here? I know it all. God cautions us that that is a wrong spirit, that the spirit of somebody who needs eye salve. So our prayer today, and my prayer today, is that some of what we're going to share does not fall on deaf ears, that it opens our eyes, that this information in a sense becomes like eye salve into our eyes so that we may see clearly on this issue of social media as Christians. Right. I move on now to share a bit of statistics with you, right? So in the world, overall, we've got 4.7 billion users of the internet, just the internet broadly in general. Out of that 4.7, 3.8 billion are on social media. That includes you and I and a whole lot of other people that we do not know. 11% of this 3.8 billion are from Africa, all right? In terms of just the social media use. And then just juxtaposed against that, if you look at the right-hand side of the screen, you'll notice that there's about 2.5 billion Christians in the world. 2.5 billion Christians. What's the population of the world? 7.8 billion. 2.5 billion are Christians. Out of those 2.5 billion, only 21 million are actually Seventh-day Adventists. 21 million. The statistic says that 25 million are adherents to Adventism, but 21 million are actually self-proclaimed or self-professing Adventists in the world. And my question to you is, how many of these first 2.5 billion Christians, and how many of these 21 million Seventh-day Adventists can boldly say, go through my social media pages, they are good, they are useful, they are helpful, they glorify God. What do our social media pages look like, in a sense, in a world where we are the salt of the earth? So you all know about social media and what it does in the front end. And front end, I mean things that are obvious to you. Social media is fun. We take selfies and they make us happy, and we take pictures of things we like. So basically it's fun. That's why it is so popular. Social media is effective because it is also quite believable. And when you're in there, you can actually suspend your thinking. You don't do too much thinking. You're just taking in what you see and what you hear. It can be time consuming if you're now going to be looking at the apps and the things that you're using at one point in time. I mean, you're moving from your Facebook page, you touch your Twitter, what is trending on the Twitter, you go to your Insta to look who has posted what new things, you go to YouTube to look at your favorite channel and see what is going on. By the time you're woken up, or you've come to, you scrolled for almost 4 hours, which you probably didn't budget to do. So that is something that you need to pay attention to. It can be addictive. Look at that man, he's got a drip on his arm. He can't live without social media. And we know people like that. For instance, in South Korea, it is a big thing, this addiction of social media. We're told that there's some youth that can go into the internet cafes and just stay there overnight, not eating, not sleeping, glued to the screen. And no, not doing schoolwork either, just on gaming, on VR, which is your virtual reality, AR, your augmented reality, and just on social media sites, you know. So it can be quite addictive. And these people are often kicked out of the shop because, like, now, by that time, there's a bit of body odor and the manager is like, please go home, go and get refreshed. That's the addiction I'm talking about. Social media can be very good. E-commerce has become a big thing, and shopping online. What with the shutdowns that we are seeing all around us, it looks like the most logical way to go. So if you're into business, social media can actually be a very good way for you to continue to trade and to make money. So I would actually advise on that front that people who are into businesses and they think, what can social media do for me? They need to rethink their model, especially when it comes to marketing and advertising and just general communication out there. For the serious business person or for the budding entrepreneur, social media could be the place for you in terms of just that aspect. It is also quite convenient because I don't have to go anywhere. I can do everything from my living room, from my bedroom, from my kitchen, or wherever it is that I am. That is why it is so popular. But also social media is full of deception, right? Some of the things that we hear can just be so horrified. Can you believe? And it jars the mind because some of it is not true. We actually call it fake news now. Some of it is true, but it is also, you're not protected from it because it is coming right where you are at in your personal space. So there's some deception to look out for there. But most importantly, one of the other things as well is you can be on an emotional roller coaster in social media. One time you're reading a post, you're seeing a picture, you're in a group chat of some sort. You start off very angry because of what somebody said. Somebody else says something else, or you see the same thing or different comments. Next thing, you're very much in love. You are happy with what you hear. After that, you are crying. Follows confusion, you know. You become in this roller coaster of emotions all day, all the time, from something that is external. It is an external stimulus coming into your space, and it is creating all of this emotional upheaval in you. And you start thinking, people are now start wondering, Uti, why is social media linked to depression, especially in teens and young adults? This is part of what I'm talking about. The benign effects are not yet studied, but we can see that it is having an effect. Social media also contributes on the front end to spousal relationships. We don't have to talk anymore. I can send you a text, yet we're in the same living room or in the same house, you know. But it's also good because we connect with loved ones, with the world the way it is now. It's good that I'm able to call my family on WhatsApp, on that video functionality of theirs, and we can all be there and congregate and talk and see one another and be happy. Grandma doesn't have to wait 3 years to see the kids. She can see them on camera and so on and so forth. Social media can be toxic and damaging. I've already mentioned this aspect. If you think now Snapchat, I'm not bad-mouthing Snapchat, I'm just giving an example. You know, one of the other things that it does, it gives you a very nice picture of who you could be, which is not who you are. And then you could post that, share it with your friends. If some are kind of mean, they will remind you that, no, that's not you, whether they're being mean or they're being truthful. Now, to the young and the fragile, the teenage person, that kind of feedback undermines their self-confidence. And it is all because what social media is selling you is the possibility of being a better person. In other words, you're not good enough in terms of just your physical looks as you have been created. And that can be quite damaging to the immature. It can also be a place that contributes to a lot of depression, as I have already mentioned. Insults that these children talk, injurious language, not even just children, in fact, everybody. You know, people in social media can be cowards when it's not on the video content and it's just chats. They're cowards because you don't see their faces. So they don't have the benefit of instant feedback. When I talk to you, you can see my body language that I'm tensing up. Then you know that, oh, it means that she's not happy. Oh, she's happy, I can read. But on social media, I can't read your body language and you can't read my body language. I can hide my face from you and I can say whatever. So this cowardly kind of talk it breeds an environment where people can just trade insults, can be mean, can throw shade, as you call it, can gossip and all of these things. So, but the most important one I think that we may want to look at is this pride of life thing. Sometimes you don't realize that you're doing it. Sometimes you're just praising God in your space and you're showing off your new car or your new house or your new whatever, you know. But sometimes you're doing it because you want to show somebody else that mine is bigger than yours, mine is better than yours. Oh, you went to Mozambique on holiday. Guess what? I went to Cancun. People have to go and Google, where's Cancun? I went to Cancun. Wow. Then it becomes a place where we are now not so humble. We are being prideful. We are showing off our stuff. And it is not because of social media. It is because we are like that, right? I want you to get it right. It's only that social media then is the vehicle, the perfect vehicle to make it consecrated, to come in full speed and get us to be the kinds of people who are just indulging in this pride of life business that you read about in the books of Timothy as Paul writes him, right? So basically, social media readily approves a captive audience. You want to catch an audience, you don't need to sell tickets anymore. You don't need to go on the streets and shout and call people in, make huge announcements. You go to social media, you will capture somebody's attention. That's the thing about it. It has become the one language, If you recall the Tower of Babel, prior Babel, one language. We were building that tower as humanity to go up to the heavens. God saw that we were up to some mischief and he scattered us and gave us different languages. Well, that is now kind of being undone by social media in the sense that I don't even have to speak English to communicate what I'm saying to you. We've got emojis for that, right? If I want to say I love you, I just send that emoji that has got little hearts. If I want to say I'm angry, I'll send that one with that red face and then there's kind of like steam coming out of the ears. There's a language that has been created, and that's what I mean. The sad thing about it is it has become the go-to place for answers, even for Christians. When you have a dilemma, or even just you need tips on something, the first place that most people now go to is social media. What does Google say about this? I heard somebody talk about this on TikTok. I've seen a tweet on this. Some of it is credible information, but should it be the go-to place? Should it be the first place that we go to? But this is what it is. It is susceptible to agendas, good and bad agendas. You can do a lot through social media, and therefore it becomes a doorway for many other programs and things that are for now and also for the future. Right, that's the front end. That's an obvious thing. Any one of us could have come and made this presentation because that is kind of obvious, right? But at the back end, we've got things also happening. Look at that. I have a friend called Melusi N. That is Melusi N's profile. So if I'm working, for instance, at Facebook or Insta or wherever, I'm looking at the back end and I'm an analyst. I'm looking at data and I'm looking at users, and I want to see the network of my friend Melusi N. What does it look like? I realized that Melusi N is friends with Evans S, right? That's that arrow that is pointing into Evans. Evans has got a network of people. That leads to a further network through somebody called Lucian, to a further network through Matt, through Castle, through Mickey, through Nicole, through Jordan, and all of those people that you can see. But all of these people are an extension of Melusi's network, unbeknownst to Melusi himself. So if I wanted to get to a group, for instance, on the far left, which is on our pink network or pink map there, I know that I just need to plant a seed somewhere. If I get Melusi to communicate this message, it will likely find its way to that other demographic, whether they know it or not. So I am able then to say, okay, I want to cut the communication, or I want to advertise to this particular group going forward. If I want to do that, what's the best way? I'm going to give them pop-ups. I'm going to give them invites to like. I'm going to give them a whole lot of things. And sometimes you get these things and you're like, how did they know? How do they even know me, that I exist? It's because of these networks that are in the background that show who connects with who, whose network is with who. So you can see that Melusi, unbeknown to him, has got a wider network than just Evans S and Evans' immediate connections. So another filter that we can look at Melusi from, you look at Melusi and you say, right, I want to look keenly and closely out of all of his connections and networks. Which ones are just online friends? Which ones are just friends that he had from high school? And which ones are actually his family? Then you look at that and you're able to analyze that data for whatever future purpose or whatever future information. Remember, you are the guy who's working now at the network site or the social network site, Facebook, at Instagram, at Twitter, or wherever it might be. And you're able to do this analysis on any one of the account holders. And in this case, I'm giving an example of Melusi, right? So in the back end, you'll see that the reason why they're able to do that, when you first open an account, they ask for some obvious things, of course, that you must give them, which is your name, your number, your gender, even your country. It's okay. Then you get pop-ups like, can you allow contacts, current location? Can we access your gallery and your photos? Can we enable your microphone? We want to check your network usage. We're going to create storyboards for you, and we want also to connect with you with people that you might know, particularly on LinkedIn. On any given day, you'll get so many suggestions, people that you might know, people that you might like, because maybe you work in the same industry, or you have same contacts, or because you are in the same kind of demographic, or you're interested in the same subjects. So they give you those things. Have you ever stopped to wonder, why do they need all of that information just for me to have an account that I can chat with my friends on and communicate with my family and see other interesting things? Well, that's because you are the data. You think it's all free. You sign up, you don't have to pay a cent, right? You are the data. You are the product that is being sold, right? What is happening is what is called social listening. They listened to you. By listening to you, it means that they analyze your posts, your conversations, to understand your mind at any given point in time. Where are you? What is your thinking? If there's a group of people who think a certain way, and it's called social listening. And then they anticipate your every move by suggesting. That's why you get pop-ups are suggestions. You get pop-ups and things you can click, you like, you dismiss, or you don't like. All the while, that information is being taken down by some algorithm, some big, let's call it computer in the sky. It just takes it down, all of this information that you have. Who are they? Big data brokers. Big data brokers are people who broker and sell information and data. And credit companies, right? You have a credit card, you have a debit card, you have a store card, whatever kind of card you do that allows you to trade and buy things. It goes all of that information to a credit company. So the credit companies and the big data companies sell your information to other third-party users. The importance of this information is that when you went and opened your little account, nobody told you about this part. You could have given a little bit more thought to it. Nobody told you what your information is going to be used for. But unbeknownst to you in the back end, third parties, big, $1 billion industry, they buy your data, and some of that data is then taken up and is being sold to shadow operations. And shadow operations basically are just future operational strategies for whatever may come up in the world in the future. For instance, one of the things that used to startle me when I used to like that app where they make your face old, because I was like, yeah, I don't want to shock myself one day. I just want to kind of see how it's going to happen. Then they tell you right there that once you upload it, it's there for the future. And some people just do that, no mind. So facial recognition has become such a big thing in these digital companies that is happening globally in the world. Why? Who wants to recognize me for what purpose? But this is what is happening. The idea, though, is to mold, or it started off as wanting to mold consumer behavior, and it also wants it to understand what consumers do so that you can influence them properly by advertising the right products to them. So the connections look something like this. And this aspect of social listening is actually important for future development and molding of society. Unbeknownst to you, you're just playing around in your little social media world, in your little Google, but this is actually what is happening. All of the things that you download, all of the things, the pages that you see, the reason why there's cookies everywhere, it is so that it can be understood who you are, how many people are like you, how and why do people think like that, right? So an example of a big data broker company called Axiom. Google is another example, but I think everybody knows Google, of what big data looks like. And Axiom looks at all of these things that you're seeing on the screen, about 3,000 attributes on just the one person, right? And Axiom is doing these for 700 million people in the world across continents. 3,000 attributes for just the one person. So they can tell your health interests, for instance. They can tell what your political views are. It's important for them to know what they are. They can tell your kind of credit profile. Well, that's an obvious one. They can tell the likelihood that you will use either Facebook or not, or you'll use Twitter or not, or you're more a YouTube person or not. They can tell your socioeconomic status. Are you high class? Are you middle class? Are you low income earning person? Are you even working? And they can tell the kind of purchases that you've made, if you've got a Visa card or a MasterCard, and so on and so forth. This kind of profiling is prevalent and it is done. And this is the kind of information that they then sell. Then the companies who come and target you get this information about you. A whole discipline called data science has just seen exponential growth since the incidence of social media. It's always been there, but since social media, because they are consuming so much data, that is why actually part of the project to build the 5G towers has gone on around the world. The data consumption is in demand, and 5G allows now the speed and the volume of that to increase, ever more increasing levels. Okay, but why are they doing all of this? If you look at the slide that talks about the end game, the idea is that we use, or social media brokers, social media creators, use tactics that are used in psychology, and I'll explain a little bit there. Then these tactics that are used in psychology are so that they can mine the information and get it from you and I, okay? They use psychological tactics. Then this information, if you look on the right at the bottom, is then taken by another discipline called engineering. You know, engineers create things, they make things work, basically. They make things. Engineering borrows it from that. Engineering then is able to inform governance systems. Governance is the way you run a company, the way you run your home, the way you run society, the way you run a country. Governance, that's where government comes from. So psychology, engineering, and governance are the big three disciplines that play a role in part of this big data thing. Okay, so in psychology, for instance, we use persuasion tactics. That means that they went and they learned what makes a gambler so addicted to gambling. They went in, they did whole studies on that, then they embedded that learning into making sure that I can't live without this, into making sure that as soon as I'm done here, I'm worried about how many texts do I have? Have I been tagged by anybody? How many likes do I have? It's not natural. It has been embedded in the creation of these apps to have a pull effect, which is not obvious to you and I. It takes people who are learned in the science of making sure they learned from gambling behavior and they're bringing it here. They learned from warfare tactics. If you want to fight a psychological war, not a physical war, what are some of the things that you need to do? For instance, bombard with fake news to create tension, create negativities, put a lot of those negative images and stories and storyboards. Then you'll see how people will react. It's an experiment. We see it happen every time there's an uprising on xenophobia in South Africa, for instance. It is preceded by some serious bombarding of pictures and stories, and some of which are not even true, just to elicit some kind of response from the community and to get it acting. So they've perfected that, the art of persuasion, the art of mob psychology, the power of suggestion. As I've said, just plant a seed and see if it will bud. This is the things that they have done, and they have now learned to preempt behavior, to anticipate what you might do, because they've tested it over and over and over again. Once they've done that, they then build the social media sites. And by the way, this is not conspiracy. I'm not making it up. I'm not thinking it up or dreaming it up. Do your own research. There is on Netflix a short documentary called The Social Dilemma. They talk about some of this stuff, so you can go and see it for yourself. There's a professor called Shoshana Zuboff. She's written a book called Surveillance Capitalism, basically talking about how surveillance has become the big money maker. So if you're in doubt about what I'm saying, just do your research around this. And loads of other people who are now beginning to say, hang on, something is up. Just on the re-engineering part of it. So in engineering, there's re-engineering. Re-engineering is improving on what currently exists. So if you look at a group of people, a demographic, and you say, I want to look at the millennials. I don't like this about millennials. How can I change it? It's called re-engineering if you're just tweaking an aspect of the behavior. Because what you are changing, by the way, is thinking patterns and behavior patterns. So all of this is meant to elicit a response from you and from me. So for me to respond and do things a certain way, I have to think a certain way, then I'll behave in that particular way. And the way that they do that is to bring all of that psychological content that I talked about. Once they've got that, they're able then to re-engineer. In other cases, they reverse engineer. Reverse engineer is when you're not sure about how something works, but you want to get to the bottom of it. And the only way that you can do it is to break it up. So you'll see, again, a disintegration of something. Why do you think there's so much upheaval everywhere else? We know the Bible said in the last days it will be so. But the Bible didn't say how exactly. And I'm proposing that social media is one of the tools that is being used by the evil one and by evil people. And I'm not saying at all there's nothing good about it. There's plenty that can be done by God-fearing good people, and we'll talk about that in our next segment. But for now, this destruction and deconstruction of learning and knowing what is happening in the different parts is what then pertains in the engineering space. Once they've broken down society, once they've broken down families, once they've broken down everything else, then they can learn, oh, You introduce a component of fear, this is how people respond. They rise up, they push back. Oh, you introduce an enticement. Is it a carrot that they need or is it a stick that they need? This is how they respond. Then it is a way of these people to learn, right? Then there is, of course, social engineering, which is the art of manipulating somebody to help them divulge very confidential and sensitive information about themselves on social media, which is used by people who are fraudulent. So where does God fit in all of this, you might ask? Look at the man Job. Satan attacks Job in maybe, let's say, 5 areas of his life. Reputationally, he goes and lies about him before God and the angels. Economically, all of his livestock dies, Psychologically, kills his children. Physically, he gets sick, he gets boils that cannot be healed. And intellectually, he gets the derision of his friends and his wife. They say, curse God and die, Job. Forget about this thing. So he gets people pressure, a lot of pressure, right? They appeal to his rational mind. They even guilt him for thinking a certain way. That's basically in the book of Job. We were given a script of how the devil works, right? If I now take that same picture that I'm showing you now, and I substitute Satan's attack and I put social media in the middle, I was astounded. The effect is the same. Social media works pretty much the same way, right? Reputationally, it is a gateway for humiliation, gossip, scandals, embellishments, or exaggerating. Economically, they are taking money from you because we are being seduced to buy things that we don't need sometimes. But they're also making money off of us because they are selling our data unbeknown to us, our information, right? It's bound to have an impact. Psychologically, there's a lot. Codependency, depression that comes out of that, stress and strain in relationships, false information, manipulation. Next time I'm high, the next moment I'm low. And of course, physically, an attack on my mind. I don't even sleep very well because my sleep patterns are altered. I become anxious and become this compulsive person who constantly needs to check their phone, who constantly can't be with her. It's called nomophobia, that disease. And of course, intellectually, the pressure that comes from social media is unbelievable. The voices that come and appeal to your rational mind through lies, through fake news, through disinformation, even just pressure. It's almost as if you've suspended your thinking. You no longer have agency. You cannot make up your own mind. You have got this pressure that is created by your community on social media. So then what shall we do as children of God? We must self-evaluate. I'm not saying social media is bad for everybody. I'm just saying we need to be mindful about how we use social media. So when you self-evaluate, ask yourself the following. Has it increased the reading of your Bible? Has it increased your appreciation of the spirit of prophecy, or are you tending to rubbish it a little bit more these days? Has it improved your prayer life? Has it increased your appetite for evangelism? If the answer is yes, praise God. If the answer is no, then you are being distracted. You are being corrupted by social media. You are being ensnared, and you are being programmed to suspend your thinking. This is what I wanted to share with you. And these last 8 points is what I think I would like to leave you at home with. Take back your power. Fight for your children and your family. Participate to counter the bad. You're already on social media. Why don't you do some good stuff? Change your tone, change your language, change your content so that it is good and uplifting and more positive, befitting of a Christian. Counter the bad with the good. Try limiting your time on social media. There's no need for you to be on every platform out there, right? Try limiting, maybe 2 or so will do good for you if you can't get out at all, Wake up, because everything is connected. I like people to see the bigger picture in life. Everything is absolutely connected. Be informed, verify your information. The Bible says test the spirits. This is what is meant by it. But most importantly, my beloved, be serious about your Christian walk. Social media is not some small little toy there. No, it's part of a big, big agenda. So be serious in your Christian walk so that God can indeed open our eyes. Thank you so much for joining us. I know it's been a mouthful, but I pray that you'll be blessed by all of this. See you next time.
My friend, thank you so much. You've taken your time to watch this video. You've been blessed. You've been wondering, how do we get to create such videos and share them to you for free? No. They are not for free, my friends. We do spend a lot of time, money, and equipment to generate these videos. And that's why I'm here to invite you, if you have not already done so, to subscribe to MelVee Broadcasting Network, particularly to join this YouTube channel and all our other platforms, and send us your donations. So please click the join button and send us your monthly donations. You can also go to PayPal. If you're out of Africa or wherever, you can send us your PayPal donation. Just go to the details that we're showing you down there and send us your donations on a monthly basis. Obviously, we also have a bank account. I've put the details right there. Send us your donations so that we can do these and many more projects we have of quality media products. We really want to use this platform to prepare you, your family, your friends, and your colleagues to be ready for the coming of Jesus Christ. He is about to come. And this is a small opportunity you and I have to use your blessing to bless us, that we may bless others. So God bless you as you consider sponsoring this ministry. MelVee Broadcasting Network is a divine voice out of Africa. God bless you.